really happy to welcome Julia Jonas here on stage. And Julia has also a big brand name here on the picture with Siemens, but I think it's more interesting what she will talk about. As we have seen in the first three or two cases, there was always a kind of a corporate background. Yeah, I mean Bosch is a big corporate, and we have seen Vucato born out of the Word Group. There's always a kind of a corporate in the background and supporting this, and but it's not always as easy as maybe Heiko mentioned. Yes, it supported a lot, but Julia did a fantastic study and. On this whole topic about what does it mean for incumbent companies to transform towards a platform business. And I'm really, really happy that she can join here and talk about what she learned, what she found out, not only about Siemens, but also it's more than Siemens, it's more about multiple companies, what she found out, what does it mean, and can share her learnings. Hello, Julia. Maybe you can also start a bit with who you are, what you are doing at Siemens, and also what you're talking about, and then we can quickly go into your presentation, and then we are back on time and have more time for the audience to hand in questions.
So thank you so much, Matthias. So yes, thanks for having me. So I will actually talk about Siemens and how we did a case study, but it was on Siemens only. So my background is a little bit in systems research and ecosystems research. It's in innovation consulting, and I'm currently an ecosystem manager at Siemens Industrial Edge. And what that implies, I will talk about in the next 15-20 minutes. And yeah, so what's the motivation why I want to talk about this, and what sparks this idea about looking at organizational change when doing platform business is that in Siemens there was a major activity in teaching everyone, especially top management, about how platform business works. It's such a relevant topic and sort of applies to whatever business anyone is doing and what that means. And one of the core lines of that training that Marshall van Alstyne repeated over and over again was something about, well, there is this shift of value creation and it turns what companies do upside down. It's like really thinking of platforms are inverting the firm. And I'm pretty sure everyone in this audience has heard that term. So, of course, there is a large organization. Siemens has 175 years of background. So if you start a platform business within such a context, how would inverting the firm and turning what activities of a company upside down, how does that fit, and how can that actually function? Many would say, like, yeah, it cannot, because the organization with all the traditions and institutions will sort of protect the status quo. So of course, and many of the previous speakers have talked about also, like, yeah, we have the startup spirit, but nevertheless, it's always part of somehow an organization where it's embedded. And this is what I want to look at a little bit. So when we look at platforms in Siemens, we very much focus on the definition that's also given by the Platform Revolution book, where it's about open architectures, where it's about allowing third parties to participate and add value, where there is clear governance to structure, to monetize, and to steer community behavior, and where it's really about interactions are value creation and not anything else, and where there is where it goes away from product but about features and away from features but towards communities and interactions for purposes to create matches. And when we look at what we find in Siemens when it goes into ecosystems, there is business ecosystems where there is or business systems where there is one orchestrator in the lead. There is knowledge ecosystems where it's all about knowledge sharing. And then we have specifically identified platform business as platform ecosystems. And this is really what we are talking about, where it's about network effects, where it's about interactive value creation. And in Siemens, there is actually a couple of platform business models in place. There is an application construct in building called Comfy. There is low-code platform Mendix based in Rotterdam. There is in Siemens Healthineers TeamPlay. There is Railigent in mobility. And what we're going to have a look at, because that's my home, is Siemens Industrial Edge. And to understand this, the friction or the background, and then the interesting part of building a platform business model in this arena, I want to give a little bit of a background about Siemens. So in digital industries, Siemens wants to be the partner to industry in digital transformation. And it's one of several business branches. So you can see digital industries on the top left, next to smart infrastructure, mobility, and Healthineers. It's very well positioned with a couple of branches in terms of software, factory automation, motion control, and process automation. And Industrial Edge has its own in factory automation. So it's basically for everyone who has never had any contact to factory automation. It's these, and I'm exaggerating, of course, it's these gray boxes next to the production line that tell the robot what to do, and then capture all the data from this production line about how the machine is doing, how the products that are being produced are doing, etc., etc. So this is our surrounding. And Industrial Edge as a business to business platform platform business has the goal to provide an open system to integrate anything IT on the shop floor, so in the production side, so that software and data handling becomes scalable, reliable, and easy to use. That means we have an architecture where it's about Industrial Edge management, where you can have something like a cockpit to look at devices and applications, where there is applications running on some of these gray boxes that might just be as powerful as your mobile phone, and where there is a specific operations running on an edge device. That would just be an analogy to anything that you know from your own private life, where previously we had calendars, we had music MP3 players like iPods, where we had, I don't know, diaries and alarm clocks, and a mobile phone, just like an edge device, gives the possibility to modularize this and put whatever applications that you want onto your device. This is sort of the same type of the idea is basically the same, and with that, it's breaking up somehow the architecture of how control and how the shop floor is being organized in a very modular way, where there's only a central management, but then everything else can be put together just as the mobile phone. So there is mobile phone providers, they provide the infrastructure, and whatever you need around it, you can modularize and adapt and connect to wherever you want. That's just the background, so you know where we're at. So it's a very technical and very production-oriented arena. And the Industrial Edge ecosystem is set up in a way that it wants to connect our previous and traditional customers, that is on the left-hand side, industrial producers and machine producers, so OEMs, and give them a connection with app providers, so that software developers that would provide any apps, just like you know it from your mobile phone, where there are solution providers that would be system integrators, helping any customers to do what they want to do with the system and connecting it to their site, and also device builders in terms of producers of these gray boxes or whatever would be the equivalent of smartphones, so hardware, who integrate a runtime. And the platform, the Industrial Edge technical platform, and also the platform business model include, of course, as we have seen it also from the presentation of Bosch, a hub where you can deploy all types of applications and get access to the stuff, and a management. There is, of course, also a marketplace that allows the transfer and the marketing of the specific devices, and the operations layer, the runtime, and then also aspects that are truly connected to anything that is platform. That means there is governance guidelines, there is community, and there is specific tools and services to enhance the user journey of any of these players, actually. And this is already a shift in thinking in terms of, hey, it's not only the green parts, industrial producers, that are our customers, but also the partners, the blue side. It's also about them to make their life easier and provide tools and services to them to be part of the ecosystem. And as we're also practicing a lot of that platform development kit and going really into the foundations of what platform businesses are, we actually have value proposition developed for each of these players. So for industrial producers, we put forward that's about increasing their profitability and also be able to benefit from new business models that they can encounter. And then for solution providers, of course, it's the same system, but it's a totally different value proposition than it would be for application providers, where one wants to gain access to new markets, scale their business, and have specific tools for working all around the globe through an infrastructure that's provided by Siemens. Solutions providers can work in a new niche and can work out new solutions for customers and provide services around that. So this is actually something that's new to the company, that it's practiced, that you don't have one pitch slide deck or something like this, but several ones, and you always adapt depending on who you're talking to when you want to when you want to encourage new partners or customers to become part of the ecosystem or profit from it. Then we can also, of course, look at how network effects are applied here and how we are thinking that the platform business is scaling. That is, if there is more producers, that means more offerings on the platform in terms of there is cool niche applications, there is a portfolio of devices from different device builders, then there is more options for anyone who wants to purchase something for improving their shop floor data analysis, etc. So that will mean if there is more options, more consumers will actually be interested in Siemens Industrial Edge, and that means the more consumers there are, the more interesting it is for producers, or any of those providers on the right hand side, to become part of the system, because the reach is higher and there is more benefit to be taken from this, and hopefully this wheel will turn. When we look at how the platform was established, we can actually see that we have done that in two phases. So of course there was a build the platform phase and then launch the ecosystem. And the strategy that Siemens with Industrial Edge followed was as follows. So the 3 layers in terms of there has to be a technical platform. That means we have to have that operating system and this type of iPhones all prepared with the management system and the hub. That was developed and launched. That was the Industrial Edge marketplace enabled, and a basic ecosystem governance in place. And all this was set up with Siemens elements initially. That means Siemens has developed the technical platform and all that infrastructure. there was a marketplace already that was adapted for the means of industrial edge. The governance was developed, and then we had a look back on all these elements of the wheel that I just showed, and filled that with partners that are actually in Siemens already. So there is industrial producers because Siemens has their own works. There is production sites, so for applications could be tested here. There is application providers because, of course, there was always software development. So first applications to be put onto this platform were also developed within the company. Siemens has a customer support entity, so that was enabled to be the first solution provider. And of course, the background of Siemens is hardware. So a couple of devices were also developed to be a fundament for this platform to actually go live as a basic and have this offering in place. So then to actually go and launch the ecosystem as this basic or fundamental version with all components provided by Siemens, and then step by step adding third-party participants. That means approaching specific application partners to also join the system that were interesting to be part of the portfolio, which like complement. Also to look at device builders who also wanted to join and complement the portfolio, and then go really broad, live, and open, and have this self-service access, as we have also already seen from Bosch, where it's all about anyone can register. But of course, we can try to trigger some specific regions, verticals, or whatever, a little bit more distinctly. But this is really the idea of how the product was launched. And it started, the whole journey started maybe in terms of how long Industrial Edge has been on the market for the past 4 years or so. So this actually adding third party and enabling the organization to also sell applications from other providers, and also to sell devices from other providers, that has been going on only for about 2 to 3 years. So in terms of how it would feel, it's maybe even a little bit fresh and not already business as usual. And what we can see from a case study that we have done together with the Friedrich Alexander University Erlangen-Nuremberg is that if we look at the organization, what are change factors and what is elements that the organization is in work with, I would say, is that there's really this idea of shifting from competition to co-opetition. Because as I mentioned, the elements of the platform business are existing from Siemens. There's of course complementary, but there's also competitive applications and devices that are being provided through the ecosystem. So this is quite some stretch to deal with this tension every now and then, and to really have everyone in the organization being able to hold this tension between there is different ways about how you can solve one customer problem, so to say. Then the ecosystem, as I said, was expanded step by step, and we could have opened the platform very early to many app partners and have a huge quantity of applications on the platform. But we try to go step by step and really have good quality and magnetic, so to say, applications on the platform first, before opening fully with and really making this trustworthy that the applications that are on the platform are quality checked, they are helpful, and there is full support of these applications also in the long run, because we're speaking of an environment where where the life cycle of some of these products is 30 years plus. So then it's just a matter of fact that startups cannot grant that they do lifecycle management for the next 20 years or so. Of course, change management is an issue. I'm talking about this all the time. It's also about a lot about creating mechanisms for knowledge sharing and collaboration. It has a different aspect in terms of how do you deal with system integrators, what we call solution partners. How do you share information? How do you set up specific community calls, partner interaction to really bring people together and to collaborate, and also give away power of how these events and exchanges actually look like, because it might not only be managed by the organization, but also by others. This is every now and then it creates this taste of, yeah, this is new, this is different, but trust the process and go with how it is. Also, the sales as a role is changing. The incentives do not really match structures that have been there before. And also, sales has a task to assist traditional customers that already have Siemens product in place, assist them to also understand what the new logic of the platform-based business model is, in terms of it has different support mechanism, it has different release cycles, it has different information channels. So this is something where not only the organization but also the customers have a need to develop further and also to change some of their given routines. Then, of course, we want to and have to enable full service. A platform is a digital is a digital offering, so it has to be self-service and has to be a pure customer digital customer journey, which is of course new to an organization, and probably many of that know from own experience, where it's really about key account manager, where it's about long-lasting relationships between with suppliers, etc. So this is something that is also a factor that we would call change factors, and that's also the changing the dynamics of the customer relationship, where it's more about IT enablement, and where the role of data is all of a sudden much more important, and you also need new resources to do this data analytics and work with the new dynamics of the customer relationships in a new way. Yeah, and then I think there is a typo. I'm sorry. So that's really what I wanted to bring with, and it's really interesting for me because I always had a sort of a gut feeling that there would be some changes, because building up a platform business as we have done it is really challenging in terms of it's not only two parts that we are connecting, as most platform businesses usually start. In terms of, first you have to one side that is value producing and one side that's value consuming, but we actually start with 5 different groups, and these 5 different groups do not have 5 personas, but even more, because it's B2B. So the personas that we work with in these 5 organizations are then even, we have someone who is in an app provider, we have someone who is a programmer, we have someone who's a portfolio manager, and we have someone who is a relationship manager. In companies that are using the platform, that means purchasing applications, we have someone who is in charge of a production line, we have someone in IT, we have someone who is in purchasing, and we have someone who is like a digital officer for digital aspects. So it's quite a broad spectrum of involved personas, roles, problems, and also bringing them all together and then working on all these different streams at once. That's quite interesting to see how that can work out, and also how this is challenging every now and then in day-to-day work, because of course it always has to fit together. And while in theory, it's nice to say that the producer side and the consumer side needs to be balanced. If you have to balance 5 different sides of a platform business, then there is even more balancing work to do. And with that, I'm at the end of my presentation and looking forward for some questions.
We have quite a few questions here. Actually, could we start with you, Karsten? We'll clear that one from the chat, and then we have a couple of others in the Q&A section.
Oh, sure. Okay, do it directly. Yeah, I would be interested do all the ISVs or solution partner pieces, do they all sit on the Industrial Edge platform from Siemens? Is it like the Force.com platform at Salesforce? So you have an underpinning of a technical platform and all these solutions sit on that. Is that the prerequisite, or could I also be part of the ecosystem with an extension that does not sit on your platform?
No, it would be sitting on the platform.
Okay, thank you.
And I think we have a couple of questions from Jean-Philippe in the Q&A. I'll ask the second one first. Do you share the data and intel generated by the platform with the ecosystem stakeholders? Obviously, a very hot topic these days is ownership and sharing of the data.
Yes, so of course, data sharing has the question can go into different directions. So of course, there is no data sharing of anything, of any data that is captured at the customer locations. That's the whole meaning of edge technology, that it remains at the shop floor, and everyone does with their data whatever they want to do with their data. Either they send it to their own server on site, or they send it to cloud and do some overall global analysis there or whatever. But that's in the industry where we're at and in the environment where we're at, one of the key factors that, of course, the data stays where it is collected. On the other hand, we are working on the level of partner management and we are not there yet, but it's on our roadmap to actually help our partners in terms of analyzing what the sales are and what customers are using applications for, to create sort of benchmarking services so that you can see where you're at, and we can also help others to be more successful, like in a way that we take Airbnb as an inspiration, where it's like, hey, others have created pictures like these and have become very successful with this. Wouldn't you want to do something like this as well? But this is not implemented yet.
Thank you, Dr. Jonas. And a second question also from Jean-Philippe. How do you qualify and onboard the partners for such complex industrial environments?
And that's a thorough process, actually. So as I mentioned, we have built up the platform step by step with selected partners first, and now being fully open. And being fully open means that there is a checklist against partners need to see if they can actually fulfill these requirements. And once they agree that they can fulfill specific requirements, then there is actually a technical test before they can go and sell, because there always has to be a match between device, software, and platform operation system. So this needs to be, this will always be thoroughly tested, because we sort of guarantee that our customer is not going to crash their production line once they apply an application and start running it.
Thanks again. And I have a quick question for you, if that's all right. I noticed in your slides a very interesting detail that you're engaging salespeople in the onboarding, something that is traditionally left to customer success specialists. So something that's quite split off from the sales function. How do you manage the different objectives and incentivize salespeople to do this kind of onboarding exercise with your clients? How do you do that?
So I don't know where exactly you read that. It's not like in terms of the sales people are doing the onboarding, but of course it's an interesting aspect of what we do in terms of the exchange with sales is much more intense, and there's much more dialogue. And of course, it happens that someone is talking to a customer and comes back with like, hey, there is they want to have a specific applications. Why wouldn't we onboard that? Or they know someone. Can you onboard this software company so we can sell it back to the company so they can work with the system? It's quite interesting dynamics that happen up here.
How are we doing for time?
Yeah, looking at the time, maybe one more last question and maybe a quick answer. So you mentioned that the whole thing is about change management and how to transform an incumbent company. What is important from our perspective and our experience is always to put a KPI behind it. So to say, what is the impact of the new business to the old business, to the core business? Is it not connected? Is it connected? And if connected, how do you measure the success of the new business? Because most of the business managers and CEOs, they are number driven and they see, okay, my old business, it gives me millions and trillions or billions, whatever. And the new one is maybe taking 5-10 years, it's far away. So how do you measure? Is there any kind of KPI, any kind of success measurement you put in place to show, okay, when we transform, it will also play out in the long term with a measurable result?
Yeah, so two short answers to that. Of course, we're not trying to transform the whole organization. The challenge is really having the platform business who does things differently side by side with the traditional business. And how we measure, just to give one example, is, for example, installed devices all around the globe and how many customers we have that are already adapting the technology on a large global scale.
All right, thank you very much. I think very interesting insights also in Edge AI and Edge platforms, a really hot topic. Yeah, Julia, thank you very much for presenting.